Hey friends, Jonathan here, and I'm here at Free Spirit Yoga, and I wanted to share with you today a little special technique that I use to relieve tension in the back of the neck. Now this is a myofascial release technique with which we will be using, this is what they call a yoga tune-up ball. You can use really any kind of ball as long as it's relatively firm. Obviously the softer ball, like a tennis ball, will be a little bit lighter. The harder balls, like a lacrosse ball or a baseball, are going to be a lot stronger of a feeling, and it really just depends on what works for you. And you know, we don't want too much feeling, but we don't want it to be too soft, and you're going to have to judge that for yourself. But anyway, this technique, what we're going to be looking to do is we're going to be looking to, again, relieve tension in the neck muscles, and specifically, we're going to be aiming for what we call the suboccipitalis. So the back of your skull here is called the occipital plate, and just at the bottom ridge here, if you feel on your own head, you could feel there's a little ridge line of bone, and so that's the occipital ridge, the lower occipital ridge, and then right underneath that, of course, would be the suboccipitalis. So our idea would be to get the ball into there and apply some direct pressure to some of the tender spots, as we always do with our myofascial release, and ideally we'd want to leave that there in a spot until the spot is actually relieved, until we actually feel, you know, the book says 70 to 80% relief. I say that, you know, you leave it there until you can move the ball around and it feels significantly different than how it did before, and preferably less tenderness to the spot. But I'll show you how this way that I like to access it. And it's really one of the simpler ones because you get to lie down. Now right here I have a yoga block. This one's wooden. It just happens to be the one that I have. You can use any kind you want. And in fact, I'll show you in a moment, but some people prefer to use the floor. It just feels better to them. They get a better hit on the spot, and that's what works. So really it's whichever one works for you. I like the block. It helps me to feel it a little better, but I'll show you the floor as well. So to get started, I like to just, you know, I set some blankets down here so the ground's nice and soft. And we just kind of lie down in a position where I could rest my head on the block. So I should be able to have the block relatively under my neck and under my head. And then I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to hold it and I'm going to bring it just under that little ridge line there. And I'm going to explore around some different angles. So you'll see that I switch my head maybe a little bit to the right, maybe a little bit more to the center, and I kind of just very gently roll around until you find a nice little tender spot. You got one right there. And then once you feel that nice little tender spot, and I should say it's not a sharp pain, it's not like a tearing, we don't want that. That means we've gone somewhere we shouldn't be, but it's a kind of a dull, toothache type pain. And when you find that spot, the idea is to just rest on it. According to the book, it's 20 seconds to a minute before the spot releases. I've had some that release a little bit quicker. I've had some that took, you know, a couple minutes for them to properly release. So it's really about being present, being aware, and noticing, you know, when is it released? And sometimes we feel like it's been released, and what we really need is just to, maybe we rolled off a little bit. So I will suggest just moving around a tiny bit if you feel like it's left, and make sure you've really relieved the whole spot. Now once that spot does feel like it's released and it's kind of softened up a bit, then you could go ahead and obviously try the other side, or, you know, just move up and down the neck a little bit. And as I said, I'll show you that you could really do this without the block, and really, again, you can use any item. It doesn't necessarily have to be a yoga block. It could be a book or anything else that gets the ball in there. It's really less about the tool that you use and more about getting into the spot and being able to maintain the pressure on the spot. So whatever works for you. That being said, on the ground here, I could really just do the same thing and place the ball here. I'll use this arm. I normally would hold it with this hand, but I want you to be able to see it. That, you know, I just kind of get it under there. And sometimes I'll even just hold the ball with my hand because this area tends to be a little rolly. And it's very easy for us to kind of roll on and off the spot. The ball can sometimes just kind of slide down your neck a little bit, and it might make you think you've, you know, finished the spot when you really haven't. So that's why I like to kind of hold it in my hand and just make sure it doesn't move around too much. But again, basically we're just trying to get in to this little area back here, this kind of little soft area without going on the spine, and that's super important. We're not putting the ball directly on the spine itself. It's either on the side, anywhere in the side soft area, or on the other side. Obviously, we want to check in on both sides. But this has been a myofascial release technique for the neck, specifically suboccipitalis. And I think that I've never personally, in all the bodies that I've dealt with, I've never encountered anyone that didn't have some tension in their neck. And I think that all of us have felt that kind of, anxious tension up there. And, relieving that is physically important for us. But also, that anxiety that builds up in the back of the neck, when we relieve the back of the neck and let the shoulders drop a bit with this kind of technique, and also with, some stretching and other things, it has a tendency to kind of relieve some of the anxiety along with it. So I highly recommend you try this technique. Be safe. Start with a softer ball, like a tennis ball. Work your way up to something harder if you need that. But if you're getting good release with a softer ball, then I would just stay with that and only use a harder ball if you need it. Anyway, my name is Jonathan. This has been a myofascial release technique video for the suboccipitalis in the back of the neck. I hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please post them in the comments and I will get back to you. And other than that, have a wonderful day. Enjoy. Get this work done. Get those that fascia all opened up, and you'll feel a whole lot better. Thanks a lot, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.